This is Daily Blast Live. We're talking about what you're talking about. Real, honest, entertaining, live. DBL starts right now.
3, 2. Welcome to Daily Blast Live. It's Thursday, October 10th. I'm here with Lindsay, Brandon, Al. I'm Tori. Let's get right to it. All right, well, we talked about this a lot yesterday, but now Matt Lauer's accuser, Brooke Nevels, is slamming Matt's defense of himself. She calls it, quote, a case study in victim shaming. Matt's denied Nevels' accusation that he raped her at the 2014 Sochi Olympics. He said their relationship was consensual. Lots to unpack here, because really quick, rape isn't always just a violent, masked man in an alleyway. Sometimes it's a really confusing, complicated situation. I think that's what we have here. What do you guys think?
I mean, you hear that a lot, but I want to hear from you first.
I mean, I just wanted her to go, I mean, not that I was ever in the situation to speak on it, but I wanted her to go to the cops, because I think that even if this happened out of the country and we have no evidence that we need, she still can put on file that she thinks that he's a sexual predator, and that would be something that he's battling with the proper authorities. I think that we're judging him in the press and making all these statements, but I really would like her to continuously move forward with this if she feels that strongly and go to the cops.
Hey, remember, she's not talking right now. This is just from the book with Ronan Farrow,
yeah,
Catch and Kill.
Yep.
This is him doing his due diligence, speaking with her, speaking of friends and past accusers of Matt Lauer as well. So it's not like she's out there doing press and saying these side of things. She's not making money.
Right.
This is just coming from that book. But what kind of throws me off a little bit, and I think that we're The transactional relationship after what happened in 2014,
so
how they
explain that.
went
What happened there?
She said that anything, that yes, they had relationships after, they were hooking up, doing that sort of thing after, but it was a transactional relationship. I would like her to break that down to me because that would help me understand that. And I think a lot of other people would help them understand this a lot more.
I think you're exactly right. And, you know, on TV, we're asked every time to speak for people that we probably don't know.
Yeah.
And when we have a situation like this, it isn't really cut and dry, like you said, a man with a mask jumps out of the bushes. Then it's very nuanced, and we want to show both sides respect. And I do think in a lot of cases that we hear from one side but not the other. You can tell sometimes that the attorneys ask the person not to speak, but the other person doesn't have those restrictions, so we get their narrative out there. So I'd like to hear, I mean, we have heard from Matt Lauer, but I'd like to hear from her as well, because right now we're just getting what's in the book and just hear both sides and then kind of come to a conclusion, because this is a very, you know, I don't mind speaking on anything, but I don't know what a transaction is. I've never been talking to you and been like, Brandon, I've had this transaction, so I don't know what that is. And I don't think anybody on the planet except for those two people do.
Yeah, well, let's find out more about it and what you guys think, because this is a very murky area we're in, so let's just call it that. All right, well, you've got to see this new Fox News poll. Did you think those words would ever come out of my mouth? Talking about how many Americans favor impeaching the president. Now, according, again, to Fox News, a majority of Americans, that's 51%, want President Trump impeached not only, but also removed from office. 4% just want him impeached, and 40% are against impeachment entirely. Now, the president is blasting the poll, saying, quote, whoever their pollster is, they suck. How eloquent. How he gets right to the point.
The bully from Back to the Future right there?
Tori, you hate that type of language, but you're laughing.
I'm laughing because I'm used to it with him, which is sad. You're right.
But you said don't get used to it.
You're right. And I'm glad you called me out on that.
Well, it's been 3.5 years, though. I know she did say that, but I mean, you can't help but be normalized by anything. You know
what else has been 3.5 years of? Us talking about we're going to impeach this man. I think if you look back at that poll, and can we just pull it up one more time? You see that 4% of people want him to get impeached but not removed. That means basically nobody wants that to happen. And that's exactly what's going to happen. Mitch McConnell basically said in so many words he is not going to let this pass through the Senate, meaning he won't be removed from office.
Well,
so what's the point of this? This is a waste of time, I think, to a lot of American voters, a lot of the independent party, which I think anybody on the Democratic side will need. And if we go through all the candidates, we have somebody who just got out of the hospital, unfortunately, Bernie Sanders. We have Kamala Harris, who's bombing in the polls now. We have
Biden.
Biden, and he's dealing with all his foreign allegations. You know, just a lot going on in the Democratic Party. And it seems like you had 4 years to kind of bolster something up with all these impeachment allegations constantly pushing that. You had 4 years to get something together, and this is what you came up with.
Well, September 30th, 2019, which is about less than a month ago, Mitch McConnell said he can do nothing other than let the impeachment trial come to the Senate if it comes. And if that's true, you can't change it. It's in the rules. Here's one thing you should know about Mitch McConnell. He loves being a Republican, in my opinion, but more importantly, he loves being a senator. And if you take the role of a Senate as the checks and balance out of his hands, he's going to fight back, and I think so are the American people. That's a huge number for me to hear. Not only does he want them impeached, 51%, but out of office. What do you think about that part?
I think the American people might do the opposite, and everybody who's Democrat who keeps voting for this to go forward, they're going to show up in the polls next year and say, we don't want you guys in the office anymore, you're doing nothing. I think you have to understand that Trump raised $308 million. $308 million, and it's only the third quarter of 2019.
Well, yeah, I agree with you. I would just come back at you that the Fox News poll for the first time says more than half Americans say they want him out of office. This is something that we've been seeing. The country is split on whether they want him impeached. I think people mix up impeach with removed from office, but this is the same idea that half of America does want it, half of America doesn't want it. I agree.
And so the only difference is that this is from a right-leaning network.
I also have to say that the reason this is different is that he's pushed so far that even Lindsey Graham, Mitch McConnell can't say it's okay anymore. But we want to hear the DBL Nation and what they have to say because this is also murky and kind of in the middle, but a very surprising poll from Fox News. All right, were we too quick to defend Ellen DeGeneres' friendship with former President George W. Bush? So the two were spotted laughing together at the Cowboys football game, and Ellen defended their friendship, if you remember, on her show. But now actor Mark Ruffalo is blasting her. He tweeted, "Until Bush is brought to justice for the crimes of the Iraq War, we can't even begin to talk about kindness." So here was my thought. I was super happy about Ellen, and then I realized there's a lot of people in the Iraq War that are dead because of this man who can't just say, hey, we have disagreeing opinions. He caused a lot of horrible tragedy to a lot of family over a lie, which was that the weapons of mass destruction were there. Do you think we were too quick to just say, yeah, it's okay?
I think it's a trend. I mean, I think if nothing, the American public forgives. I think that's really the crux of what Mr. Ruffalo is complaining about, is that we tend to forgive too quickly. I mean, don't forget, not too long ago, Sean Spicer was openly lying to the American public on a daily basis.
And now he's
doing
now he's on
yeah.
Stars, and everybody thinks he's hilarious.
Yeah.
Scaramucci was Trump's right-hand man and was saying things that were erroneous. Fired in 10 days, was disliked for a long time. Then comes out against Trump. Now he's America's sweetheart. I don't know if that's the right word to use.
Yeah.
So it just shows you we forgive very quickly. And I mean, we look at George Bush. Now he's smiling. Now he's painting. Now he's hanging out with Michelle Obama.
Right.
And I definitely think Mr. Ruffalo has a point.
So do we forgive too quickly? What do you think, Lindsay?
I think that Michelle Obama, like you said, and Bush have a friendship. She said she loves him to death on the Today Show. I think that you're saying that people have to take every single issue that somebody stands on and not speak to them or treat them cordially at an open event because of that.
Those are pretty big issues that Mr.
Right, but
Ruffalo
also a big issue is the 3 strikes law that Bill Clinton put in place that put a lot of African American sons in jail. But guess what? Those moms still went out and voted for Hillary. Several of them.
I don't know if we knew as much then.
No, but
in 1994, I didn't know, but I
didn't.
think that would be covered much more with Twitter and everything now.
But do you bash all of them for voting for Hillary? Any of them that you might know?
Well, I mean, because of our system, we only have 2 options. So I had to make a decision. But I mean, if I had another option, I probably would have chosen it. I mean, now we have documentaries like The 13th that shows the fallout from things like that. But at the time, the 3 strikes and you're out, they made it seem like, oh, we're just going to be putting axe murderers away. It wasn't like a kid that's got, $15 of crack. Meanwhile, cocaine is flooded our country and no one's saying anything.
I mean, you could go all the way back to H.W. Bush and say the war on drugs started an enormous amount of problems. Nancy Reagan, do not do drugs, don't do drugs,
so
just say no.
basically you wouldn't speak to anybody and really take your issues up with the Supreme Court.
Okay, that's
so don't speak to them and you don't see them out at games.
Wow, very nice. All right. Well, have you ever had a dream vacation go terribly wrong? Well, a group of Norwegian cruise passengers are revolting, demanding a refund after their 14-day cruise went south due to weather. So the passengers chanted refund, refund after multiple ports were canceled, saying the cruise line was doing a bait and switch. The cruise line says we always do our best to provide our guests with a truly enjoyable and memorable vacation, but our very first priority is to ensure their safety. Now, Al, you literally spent years on cruise ships.
Right, yeah.
Is this a bait and switch?
You're subject to Mother Nature, and if the ports aren't safe to dock, they can't do it for legal reasons. If they send you out there and somebody falls overboard or multiple people fall overboard, we'll be leading with that story next week. So they have to protect you.
Should they offer a refund?
I don't think so. I mean, it's almost like
Really?
no. I mean, it's almost like the airlines. When you fly into O'Hare December 31st, there's a chance there's going to be a blizzard
there. But if
there.
I'm supposed to go to a bunch of ports and I'm stuck on a boat for 2 weeks, I want my money back.
I agree
No,
with
go to the bar like a grown-up and make the best of it.
That is not what we do, people.
Yes.
I'll be at the bar with you.
Big
All right,
babies.
DBL is live,
I'm
and
coming
up, you'll be there too. Decades ago, a young woman beaten and raped and killed. Discover how a DNA test that nabbed a notorious serial killer will play a pivotal role in this cold case in today's True Crime Chronicles. And you, the viewer, are our 5th host. The Atlanta Braves baseball team is cutting back on a time-honored tradition because some believe it's offensive to Native Americans. Your comments on the controversy coming up next.
Cruise?
Yeah, I was just like,
That's why sitting here.
I think on the
sitting
cruise
here.
lines, at least airlines, at the very least, offer free drink tickets. Refund is like usually the last and never happens. But maybe rebook your flight or they'll put you up in a hotel. These people cannot have booked to go to all these fancy, wonderful places and go nowhere.
what they could have done is flown there. That's one thing.
That's not right.
When you take
cruises
a
are much
ship,
cheaper.
you are putting yourself at the mercy of Mother Nature.
Cruise ship, it was $17.99 for that trip. To fly to Rome and stay there in a hotel for a week is, or 2 weeks. That's way more than $17.99.
You might have to pick and just go one place rather than 9 places.
No, dude, you know they should get some money back.
Why should they get some money back?
Because they didn't fulfill the transaction of going to the cruise.
So look, there's a viral letter that's out, and because the company sent this out and was like they're offering passengers a 25% discount on future trips.
Yeah, that's
25%
When you
discount.
go on a cruise, you are openly saying that you understand that something might go wrong in terms of weather, in terms of the ship.
But the whole cruise was ruined. So at some point, you want happy customers.
Would you rather say, what if they complained and they said, you know what, fine, we'll let you get off the boat? Would you be comfortable doing that if they told you it's not safe?
No, but I don't think they also want angry people screaming refund, refund. They'd rather pay these people.
Those people will get off the boat and there'll be new people and it'll all be forgotten.
I think they seriously don't want that bad
Crimson
press.
Tide with Denzel Washington and Gene Hackman. Remember that movie?
Really quick, guys.
Love that movie.
Travis, really quick. I am going to go into Yom Kippur and what Yom Kippur is and why I was gone, because a lot of people don't really know. And I really appreciate the Masoko saying, hope you had a Gemar Tov. Could you share your feelings of the Kaparot? So basically, I'm going to do that in the next break. And it's not what you think. It's not what you think. It's not what you think. I thought we had no more time, so I just kept saying.
Way to just end it.
Welcome back to DBL. It's time for Fifth Host when we talk about what you're talking about. Well, many Atlanta Brave fans have been pushed to break a long-standing tradition some consider racist. Yesterday's playoff game between the Braves and the Cardinals did not include any foam tomahawks or chop-related graphics at the request of St. Louis Cardinal Ryan Helsley, who is a Native American. But some fans continue to tomahawk chop even without music. So, DBL Nation, would you be willing to break a tradition if some considered it racist? If you don't know, and I'm doing this just to show you, you do this when you're doing well. That's the tomahawk cry.
Right.
And also just to put fire on the fuel, or fuel on the fire, check out what the headline was during that game, and this has gotten people very upset. Braves scalped. So that was on KTVU, I believe, and this has gone viral on Twitter this morning. So go ahead, Lindsay, take it away.
Okay, Zach from Facebook says, do people of legitimate Native American heritage actually have a problem with the tomahawk chop, or is it just woke white people that have an issue with it? Well, I'm a woke black person, I think. And I have an issue with it because I think that it's racist, and I think that it's offensive to people that have already been mistreated for so long in this country, and we have a history, and we should try to make it better rather than rubbing it in.
All right, Kelly from Twitter says, I think the ban is positive. Fans might not like it, but maybe they can reflect back on it and see that it was a good move. Exactly. As the athlete, remember, fans, you're not there for a tomahawk chop. You're there to watch us play. You're there to watch them throw the baseball, pitch, catch. Redskins, your organization is terrible. So who cares if they get rid of the Redskins? Bring in a good quarterback. Bring in a better owner. So anything offensive now in 2019, and if you're putting up Braves scalped on the media, you're just trying to do it to be a
person.
Yeah, bad person.
Dan from Facebook says the Minnesota Vikings are named after Scandinavian warriors of old who raped and pillaged foreign lands. Should they find a new name too? Dan, if there's a problem, if there's enough of an issue, I think it should be raised. I mean, obviously, we've talked about this, and there is precedent for this. It used to be the Syracuse Orangemen. It's now the Syracuse Orange. It used to be the St. John's Redmen. It's now the St. John's Red Storm, I believe. So people have changed their names. They have changed their tradition. And last I checked, are those universities still standing?
They're still standing. It's not going to change.
Are you okay?
It's not going to change.
Everybody's good.
You can change.
I don't have to do the tomahawk chop because it offends people, and I'm still okay.
All right, let me check. Okay.
I'm okay.
She's here.
All right, coming up on DBL, we'll tell you how DNA technology has given a family a sense of renewed hope decades after a young woman was brutally murdered. Don't miss our latest installment of True Crime Chronicles when DBL returns. So we're gonna go
It was
over here really
around.
quick.
It was close in time. Also,
can't move in
Washington
these.
Bullets changed their
So
name.
yeah, I was gonna say I was at the Washington Bullets, and Jordan came and took over the Bullets and said, "We're now the Wizards," because that's super uncomfortable as the murder capital of the U.S.
DC sniper.
The DC sniper. It was just awful. So I have no problem with it if it offends. Someone wrote, "What about doing the haka dance and you're not of Maori descent?" Well, I'd love to hear from the Maori people. This was a Native American on the team saying,
Tori,
"Don't do it."
Tori, let's talk to our audience about what we're doing, and that's called whataboutism. It's the oldest offense.
Right.
It's the way
What about
that,
this? What
it's
about
the way
that?
that you get out of anything. It's like if Brandon steals my car and somebody's like, well, what about the fact you didn't file taxes last year? It's like these
Yeah.
are two things that
Yeah.
don't matter. And it like, let's be honest,
We have a poll
everybody
on
calls
Twitter.
people soft when it doesn't affect them. It's
I
like,
know.
come on, it's fine. But if it's a value that you hold personal, then you're like, how dare you?
Yeah, right.
How dare you, you know?
Like, I can't believe
you
we
tread
still
on
have
me.
Redskins. That's so
I want
embarrassing.
to get this in and tell everybody that there's a poll on our Twitter page. So you need to say, is it time to end the tradition of Native American mascots? Right now, 40% of people say yes and 60% say no.
But I don't
The
get-
poll will be open all day.
But I just don't understand why you want to hold on to it so
Right.
much. It's not like you're
Why is it meaningful
playing.
to
You're
you
not
so much?
playing.
Right,
it has
right.
nothing to do with that team, anyone on that team catching the ball better or throwing a
Totally.
pitch better. It has nothing to do with it. I don't get it.
Welcome back to DBL. A cold case out of Cleveland from 1980s is on the verge of a breakthrough. Thanks to a new type of DNA testing, we are taking a close look at the Barbara Blatt case in DBL's True Crime Chronicles.
Barbara Blattnick's murder has captivated the Cleveland area for decades. The 17-year-old was a popular student at Erie View Catholic High School.
She just turned 17. She was just a kid.
It was Christmas, 1987. Barbara spent her last night alive at a party. She left with friends who brought her home and never saw her again. The next morning, tragedy shook the town. Oil and gas workers found Barbara's body in the woods, miles from her home.
Whoever killed her beat her to death.
Barbara was beaten and raped. She was found naked with only her class ring left on her finger.
I always just thought we were just going to be one of those families that never knew because there was not enough evidence or samples. And unless somebody said, yeah, I did it.
Investigators held on to her class ring and a small sample of DNA under Barbara's fingernail for years.
Luckily, they have held on to this DNA that was underneath her fingernails that she probably got when fighting her killer.
Now, a new nonprofit called Porchlight is now taking on the case, paying $4,000 to conduct private DNA testing.
I think our chances are really good with solving this case. I think it'll happen sooner than later.
It's not your typical DNA tests we see at police departments. The nonprofit is looking at genetic DNA. It's the same type of testing used to identify Joseph DeAngelo, known as the Golden State Killer. The serial killer and rapist was caught last year after decades of crime, thanks to genealogy testing. Barbara's family believes this new DNA testing could help track down the person responsible for killing her.
Earlier, DBL co-hosts Sam, Al, and Lindsay spoke with journalists at our sister station, WKYC in Cleveland, to get a deeper look at the case. Take a look.
We are joined now by investigative reporter Drew Horansky and investigative producer Phil Trexler from our sister station, WKYC in Cleveland. Now, this story, I mean, for all of us, it gives you goosebumps, especially as parents. 17 years old. I just pray that the family gets justice. You both have been covering this case for months. Any updates?
Well, I'd say the latest update is that the unique group, nonprofit Porchlight, has come up with some DNA profile that is now currently being tested. They did some fundraising, they got the money, and it's currently being tested. And in fact, they've even come up with a partial profile that have yet to be released because of the ongoing investigation. But there is movement forward.
Well, that kind of leads me to my next question. Because there's so many cases, why did the nonprofit Porchlight decide to pick up this case?
Well, for one thing, it's very expensive to do, as much as $4,000 to $5,000 to do this DNA testing. But another thing that we learned is that a lot of departments can look certainly in their own databases, but they would only be limited to people already in that database, people who are likely convicted of a crime. What this allows them to do is to look outside of that database to people who have not been convicted, people who have submitted to genealogy sites.
Wow.
Certainly widens the net, casts it out much bigger than they would if they just looked internally within their own department.
Wow.
Why did it take a nonprofit to make this happen? So, like, why can't suburban Cleveland police do the DNA testing on their own?
Good question.
That is.
Yeah, there's some issues there with the current genealogy community and law enforcement. They're trying to set up the new rules. Of course, there were some very high-profile cases last year and over the years that they have solved and resolved. But the disconnect is there. So I think it's better now that a private nonprofit works with the genealogy community to do the testing and keep law enforcement to the side. It's what everybody's comfortable now until the new rules are really set in stone.
And sadly, a lot of these cold cases get overlooked as well. Departments have fresher cases to be working on, and we've seen in a number of cases that these, over time, they are sort of out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah, and Drew and Phil, this is the same testing used to track down the Golden State Killer. Do you feel it will bring the same success to this case? And how soon can we expect results?
It certainly has the potential to. The family's hoping, and Porchlight is hoping, that perhaps by Christmas time they could have a full DNA profile. Keep in mind, in this case, what Barbara was able to do was to scrape. She used her nails to defend herself against her attacker, and apparently that is a very good bit of DNA to get. It gives a stronger profile. So the hope is that certainly sooner rather than later, with the money that has been ponied up, that can help expedite this a little bit. The hope is that by Christmas time, and again, as Phil had mentioned, they already have a sense of ethnicity and who this person may be.
Wow. One step closer. One step closer. We pray that they get the justice. Thank you, Drew and Phil. And DBL Nation, if you want to read more on this case, go to WKYC.com. We'll be right back. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Promotional consideration is brought to you.
Welcome to Headlines, where all you news junkies out there can test your knowledge on today's current events. So I'm Raquel, this is Angelica, and I'm going to quiz her, and let's see if you can get the answer right before she does. Vinyl records are making a comeback. They are expected to sell more than what other form of recorded music? Is it tapes, MP3s, or CDs?
Vinyl?
Vinyl.
Music? Okay, that's easy. It has to be MP3s.
Right? Raquel! I'm sorry.
What's the answer?
So the answer is CDs for everyone at home. Digital Music News says vinyl is going to overtake CD sales for the first time since 1986.
People still buy CDs?
I'm going to give you one of the biggest headlines of the month, but I'm not going to tell it to you. I'm going to show it to you using some emojis. So take a look. What do you think it is?
Okay. Royal Flight, New York, Tennis Open, clap, clap, clap.
If you don't get this, you've been living under a rock. You get one more guess. Everyone at home is probably screaming at you right now.
Royal Tennis. Serena?
Mm-hmm. Oh, man, you can never show your face in London because Meghan Markle took a royal flight. Yes.
Since when? Oh, my God.
Meghan Markle took a royal flight out to visit her friend Serena at the tennis U.S. Open. Next up, I'll give you 3 clues, and you have to guess which celebrity we blurt out right here on screen. All right. This actor says it's time for a woman to play James Bond.
Raquel, I've never seen James Bond. I know you guys are going to be so mad at me.
All right, second clue then. He, too, is familiar with the life of a secret 007 agent.
James Bond!
Yes, but which James Bond?
007?
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to give you the final clue.
Okay.
And you at home will be screaming. He has piercing blue eyes. Piercing.
Liam?
You at home have probably already won because the answer is Pierce Brosnan.
Who is that?
Wow, no friends with the royal or any secret agents anytime soon.
All right, clearly I need to brush up on my headlines.
He told The Hollywood Reporter it's time for a woman to take over the role.
Okay.
He famously had it in the 90s. Everyone at home remembers. Thank you very much. Well, that's it for headlines. Let's see if one day Angelica can get an answer right.
Welcome back to DBL. You have to see this Georgia baker's epic fail. Well, a bride-to-be ordered a peacock-shaped wedding cake and got what she called a lopsided turkey with leprosy.
Oh, she tried.
Yeah.
That's what happens. It's like when you shop online.
That's bad, though. That's really...
It's sideways.
Wouldn't you, when the person showed up to pick it up, wouldn't you just say, it's not ready? It's going to be ready tomorrow. It's never going to be ready.
It's just never going to be
And just hand them their money back and then don't have this on the internet.
I bet it tastes good.
Yeah, maybe you're right.
Cake, it's made of flour and sugar.
Yeah.
No, but who cares about what it looks like?
Well, with love to the turkey with leprosy. We'll see you same time, same place tomorrow. Bye, guys.